We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. We are here to convict no one yet. And if evidence of a mystery altercation with other young men arises, we are pursuing it.
When the black medical examiner gets to Nolan's corpse part, the throat tissue and the lung tissue is gone. How is he supposed to determine if Nolan died from being choked out or if Nolan died from drowning if he don't have the throat tissue or the lung tissue? And nobody has explained yet whether or not the medical examiner in DC is ever going to get the throat tissue or the lung tissue. And I personally believe, Art, Nolan was deceased before he hit the water. And the reason they held on to the throat tissue and the reason they held on to the lung tissue is they didn't want nobody to know that Nolan was murdered before he hit that.
Months of silence. Then, all at once, several of Nolan Wells' closest friends sat down and started talking, on camera, on the record, about what actually happened on July 4th, 2026, out near Horn Island on the Mississippi coast. Their words are now part of the case, but listen closely, because not everything lines up. There are gaps in the timeline, in what happened after they left the island, in what still hasn't been explained months later. 2 days after that boat trip, 18-year-old Nolan Wells was found dead. Now his friends are finally answering questions on camera, and what's sitting underneath some of those answers might raise more questions than it settles. This is a true crime documentary breakdown, built entirely from verified interviews, official statements, and reporting that's been checked and rechecked. Not rumor, not speculation, just what's actually on the record. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, you're in the right place. Every week, we take a case like this one, and stay with it until there's an actual answer, not just a louder theory. If that's the kind of coverage you want, subscribe. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from tonight. I read every one. By the time this is over, you'll have heard their side of what happened that day. What you'll be left wondering is what's still missing from it. Since Nolan's death, his closest friends say their lives have been unrecognizable. In the interview, one of them describes it plainly.
You know, obviously, before this happened, I would assume you're living a regular life, young guys being in college, having a typical experience. Then you lose your friend. Nolan, and after that, what has life been like for you guys?
I think like ever since it happened, my life just like hit like a hole, like it just stopped. And I mean, we just got to live day by day from now on.
I could say definitely a whole flip upside down for our lives. It's like even going out, we're always paranoid somebody's gonna see us, get spotted, try to beat us up potentially, or even worse. We're really just trying to stay low key and not go out as much or anything like that.
It's been hard because my friends and I are people. I mean, we like to be out and hang out outside of our friend group, and not being able to like go certain places or walk around in public because our head's always on a swivel. It's really affected all of us. I mean, especially in like my family's standpoint, my safety comes first. My friends and family safety come first too. And it's been really hard because I'm worried about like my family as well with me, and it's hard, but we're just going day by day and just trying to get through every day.
Can you give me some examples of what has happened? Have you guys had things happen online, threats online? Have you guys have any examples of people accosting you or anything like that?
Oh yeah, we have had countless death threats online, been spotted. I'll let you elaborate more on that, being spotted.
People have obviously just pointed us out. I mean, as a group and even on a one-on-one setting, I think it's really just like awkward because I don't want to talk about this, and I know my friends don't want to talk about this any more than we need to. We're still mourning one of our best friends' death, and it's hard to speak about it when, like sometimes we just need some alone time, or sometimes we just need to, lay back and not be around all this. And I mean, I've been called out in public, and I haven't been in public that much. I know my friends have had encounters in public. The threats have been insane from, my stepmom and my dad, my mom, just everyone included, like even my brothers and my sisters. And it's just hard. I mean, it's unbelievable where like this has been taken to and the level where this is at.
Life didn't just change, it stopped. Every day since has been about getting through that day alone, nothing more. They describe a fear that doesn't let up. Going out in public, running errands, being seen together. All of it now comes with the constant sense that someone might recognize them, might confront them, might do worse. So they've pulled back, stayed close to home, tried to disappear from a spotlight they never asked for. For a group of friends who describe themselves as naturally social, the kind of guys who used to be out constantly, that isolation has become its own kind of loss, layered on top of losing Nolan. It hasn't stayed contained to them either. They say the threats have reached their families too. Parents, siblings, people who had nothing to do with that day at all, now pulled into the same storm. Asked for specifics, the answer was blunt. Countless death threats online, and confrontations in public that have happened to them both individually and as a group. They're careful about how much they'll say on camera, reluctant to relive it, still grieving a friend while defending themselves against accusations they insist aren't true.
With only 4 minutes of this video for me to work with, watch what I've noticed. Keep your eyes on this one and Warren, okay? Watch right after the first question.
What is your thoughts on that phone call to Cito? Some people have gone out and...
Did y'all see it? Did you all see them literally lock eyes? I'll do it again slower for you.
Some people have gone out and...
Warren wasn't ready for him to break eye contact yet. He wanted to say something with his eyes. Speaking of signals, because this guy really thought that nobody would notice. Now, I'm not sure who this guy is, but notice how he's wearing a hat that says Call Cox. Now, y'all remember that Bobby Cox is the mayor of Ocean Springs, and he's friends with these people. Cox is also the name of the lawyer that they hired first. Watch what I caught twice in 4 minutes.
That clip of all of us on the boat. Who it is gonna believe what they want to hear. If they want to believe that my friends and I had something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we crack your super secret code, dude? We'll just do baseball signals, guys. They'll never suspect. Which is honestly just a testament for how stupid these kids are. They have to have an adult sit in on the interview with them and touch their hat. I can't wait for the rest of...
It's a strange dynamic sitting at the center of this case. The people closest to Nolan, the ones who say they loved him like a brother, are also the ones living under the heaviest suspicion. And that suspicion keeps circling back to one moment, a single phone call made from the boat that day. At 4 o'clock that afternoon, with their boat taking on water near the west tip of Horn Island, one of Nolan's friends called Cito, a private marine towing company. Mississippi's Department of Marine Resources later released the recording of that call, and it's become the single most fought-over piece of evidence in the entire case. It's a chaotic 8 minutes. The caller sounds rattled, fumbling through basic questions about membership information and how fast the water is rising, before finally reading off GPS coordinates near the island's northwest tip. At one point, the dispatcher asks if they need the Coast Guard. The answer is no. Not long after, the caller's grandfather gets on the line with the tow captain and says the situation is under control. Cito's help is called off. Another boater nearby ends up towing them back to the mainland instead. On its face, it's a call about a sinking boat, nothing more. But weeks later, TMZ ran the recording through audio enhancement and published what they described as barely audible phrases buried underneath the panic. Words that, if real, would mean something happened on that boat far more serious than a broken bilge pump. TMZ was careful to frame it as speculative, not confirmed. And when a digital forensics expert examined both versions side by side on live television, he raised a real problem. The enhanced file ran 20 seconds longer than the original, with a different digital signature entirely. And he noted that once you're told what to listen for, your brain will often find it, whether it's actually there or not. The friend's side flatly denies the words are there at all. Nolan's best friend, Warren Hudson, has said publicly that Nolan chose to stay behind on the island when the boat started taking on water, and that in the chaos of the moment, everyone's focus was on keeping the boat afloat. No law enforcement agency has verified what's actually in that audio. No independent forensic lab has confirmed or denied it. What's left is one recording.
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
Yet, on the enhanced audio, a person can be heard counting what sounds like 8 people.
Like 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That discrepancy alone raises another question about exactly who was on board the boat at that moment. And since we're talking about the audio, we have to address Bart Edmonston's attorney, Russell Latino, reportedly questioning whether it is clear that the recording being circulated is the original audio.
That conversation from the sweetened audio, where there's one voice calling Cito, I have an account.
Cito Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
What is your position on the veracity of that sweetened audio?
That audio gets released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. A version of it, it's not clear that that was the original audio. And then people take it and try and pick it apart.
Two very different interpretations of what's underneath it, and a case where, weeks later, no official cause of death has ever been made public. And while that recording was being picked apart online, second by second, another member of the Wells family found herself under scrutiny of a very different kind. In early August, while public attention on the case was still intensifying, Nolan's mother found herself fighting a battle of her own. Christine Wells Wonesley, a family nurse practitioner with years of practice in Mississippi and no prior disciplinary history, learned that the state's Board of Nursing had opened a professional misconduct investigation into her license, triggered by a complaint filed anonymously by someone who never put their name on it. Her attorney, civil rights lawyer Ben Crump, didn't mince words. He called it a warning shot, time to pressure a grieving mother into silence at the exact moment she'd been pushing hardest for answers about her son's death. The Board of Nursing, for its part, offered a narrower explanation. By law, it said, it's required to investigate every complaint filed with it, regardless of who files it or why, and those investigations stay confidential while open. That's standard procedure, the kind of thing that happens to licensed professionals across the state every year, with or without a national news story attached to their name. But the timing was hard to ignore. Christine had spent her entire career without a single complaint filed against her. Then her son died. Then she started speaking publicly, refusing to accept the early explanation that ruled out foul play. Only after that did an anonymous complaint appear. Within about a week, the board closed the case. Christine confirmed it herself online, calling it one more layer of hurt on an already devastating year. Crump was more pointed, calling the complaint frivolous and unfounded from the start. What's never been answered is who filed it, or why. And that unanswered question sits next to a larger one that's followed this case since the beginning. Because Nolan Wells was black, his friends that day were not, and questions about whether race shaped how this case was handled have never fully gone away. If you're still here, you already know this case isn't going to hand you easy answers, and that's exactly why it's worth covering. If you want us tracking every update as this story develops, hit like before we go further. Because coming up, you'll hear directly from the friends who were there that day, on camera, in their own words, and what they say raises just as many questions as it answers. Near the end of the sit-down with Tatum, the question turned personal. Looking back at everything that's happened since Nolan's death, what, if anything, would they have done differently? Warren Hudson didn't hesitate. He said he thinks about it every single day, and that if he could go back, he'd have never gone out to Horn Island at all. Nolan was more than a friend to him, he said, closer to a brother, and none of the last 2 months have made that easier to carry. Jax Patalo pushed back hardest on the idea that race had anything to do with what happened, arguing his friendship with Nolan was the clearest evidence against it. But Jax also went somewhere the earlier interviews hadn't. He pointed to Christine Wonesley herself, arguing that her own early social media posts, a photo of her son with Jax and Morgan, a mention of Warren by name, were what first pushed this story past their own community and into the national spotlight. Without that, he believes, none of this gets as big as it did. It's a striking thing to say about a mother 2 months removed from burying her son. And it sits strangely next to everything covered earlier in this video. A woman who just spent a week defending her nursing license against an anonymous complaint her own attorney called intimidation. Whether sharing photos of your own child online counts as fueling a story, or whether that's simply what grief looks like once the world is already watching, isn't a question this video can answer for you. Morgan Seymour took the more measured position of the three, saying the media should have given local authorities time to investigate and release verified information before broader theories started spreading online. Given how much of this case has been shaped by disputed audio and theories that outran any official update, it's hard to argue he doesn't have a point, whatever you believe actually happened on that island. As for whether race shaped how this case has been covered and investigated, that question is exactly as open as it was when this video started. Tatum himself has said publicly, after reviewing the case firsthand, that he doesn't believe it was a factor. The family's attorney has said the opposite, that it can't be ruled out. No official investigation has settled it either way. Here's where things actually stand, as of this week. The official autopsy on Nolan Wells has been completed. The results have not been released. A state autopsy is expected to stay sealed unless and until this case reaches a grand jury. No one has been arrested, no one has been charged, and the friends who were with him that day are still, months later, telling their side of a story a lot of the public isn't sure it believes. That's where this case sits right now. Not solved, not closed, just quieter than it was, filled with gaps that a handful of interviews were never going to fully close. If new information comes out, we'll be back to cover it. That's what this channel does. So if you want to be here when the next piece of this story breaks, subscribe now and drop a comment with whatever part of this timeline still doesn't add up for you. I read every one. Just keep it respectful down there. No accusations, no declaring anyone guilty. Just the question you think still needs an answer.